Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan Ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji.
Welcome everyone to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. Interesting thing about anger, especially the raging type of anger that makes us want to hit people, break something, hurt ourselves, etc. It only can happen when you are unconscious. Meaning, you cannot consciously create anger. Now, we can consciously create the type of anger like, I am angry that the rainforest is being cut down. I can get in touch with that inside. I can get in touch with anger at world poverty, at things that are happening in different parts of the world. But that sense of I'm going to do something that I know is wrong and I'm later going to regret it, that sense only comes actually when you are unconscious. And so if you find that you are constantly or even frequently in that state of, I'm just going to kill you, I'm just going to hit this person, that sense of rage, realize that you're not consciously there in the present moment. That your mind is not right here, right now, in your breath. Because if you are, there isn't rage. They cannot simultaneously coexist. And so this is where our practices of mindfulness, of be here now, of be in the present, of awareness of the breath come in. Because by the way, it's not only anger. All of that we do, which later on or the next morning we say, oh my God, who was that? That was not me. All the things we do or say that we later end up saying, I don't know who that was, it wasn't me, that wasn't what I meant, is all when you are not conscious. Otherwise, who was it? If it wasn't you, think about how many times you've woken up in the morning or gone to sleep at night looking back over the day. You thought, God, that wasn't me. Who was that? Well, it was you. But it was the unconscious you. It was the pre-programmed, indoctrinated, non-conscious, non-aware, non-grounded, non-awake you. And yes, it's rooted in expectation a lot. When I expect that the world is going to be a certain way, that people will dance according to my tune, speak to me the way I want them to, treat me the way I want them to, or the universe, right? How dare it rain on my birthday picnic. Like, this is the dry season. How dare it rain? So anger is that response to an expectation that people or the universe were going to act differently, how I wanted them to. And the dilemma with that is you don't actually have any control over anything other than your own reaction. And so every time I get angry, what it is saying is, number one, my peace, my joy, my spiritual connection is based on your words, your actions. Well, that's a really silly thing to do. When our spiritual grounding and anchoring and awakening is the highest calling we have, when being aware and mindful and conscious and awake is the highest calling we have, why in the world would I hook that in to someone else's volatile actions or words? It would be like taking an object, whatever is the most precious item you possess, a tangible object. Maybe it's a diamond. Maybe it's an otherwise worthless to other people but precious to you gift that someone you love gave you. Whatever it may be, but it would taking that tangible, precious object and sticking it in the hands of a restless, drug-addicted teenager. Why would you do that? If you know this person is up and down, on drugs, reckless, making stupid decisions, why would you take the most precious thing to you and say, you hold it? Isko samal ke rakho. You would never do that. You would know, I cannot trust him. Our spiritual connection, our awakening, our awareness, our freedom is the most precious thing on earth. It is what we are here for. Why in the world would I take that and hook it into someone else's emotional instability? Why would I hook it into someone else's temper tantrums? It makes no sense. There's a beautiful saying that says, getting angry is like drinking poison but expecting the other guy to die. That poison isn't me. And so anger does two things. Number one, in order for it to exist, I must be unconscious. So anger has stolen my mindfulness, consciousness, awareness, grounding, connection. But it's also done something else on a very physical and physiological level. To produce anger inside of me, if I'm going to yell at you or hit you, the chemicals of that anger are poison. Now we have a choice. We don't have any control over what other people say or do or how they act. But we do have control over what we produce inside ourselves. We say sometimes, you made me angry. But that isn't true. The truth is, I chose deliberately to throw my peace, my joy, my spiritual connection into the fire based on something you said or didn't say. or did or didn't do. I have chosen. I had an option. I had an alternative. Nonetheless, I have chosen to do that. Your heart, your spiritual experience is way too precious. My favorite way of thinking about this, a very simple but easy example is, if you imagine that I've got a beautiful brand new white couch, and you come to my house, and you sit down on my couch next to me, and it's brand new, it's beautiful, love it. And I say, I'm going to go make you a cup of tea. And I go in the kitchen, and by my own hands, I make you a cup of tea or coffee. And I give it to you. And you, purposely or not purposely, knowingly or unknowingly, you take that cup of coffee or tea and you spill it on my couch. And then you have the audacity to stand up and walk out the door. Okay. Now, you're wise people. What would you advise me to do in that circumstance if someone did that to me? What should be the very first thing I should do? Clean my couch. Yes. A+. Of course, right? It's new, I love it. Even if it's not new, I love it anyway. And especially because if I don't clean it right away, what's going to happen to that coffee or tea stain? It's going to stain. It's going to keep getting worse. Now, how many of you here think that I should let it stain and run after the person who spilled it on my couch and chase him down the road? All right, nobody. How many of you think that I should let it be there so that when people come to visit, I can say, look, look what this guy did to me. Can you believe it? And I had been so nice. I had gone in and made a cup of tea by my own hands. Look what he did. Anybody? Last option. I could leave it there and wait for the person who spilled it to come back so they could feel really bad. So we seem to have a general consensus here that cleaning the couch first is the most important thing because we understand it's going to stain. I've got to live with this couch. And if it's full of ants and bugs and smellies and bacteria, well, I'm the one who has to sit here. So the question is, if we understand that taking care of our couch is so important, why don't we understand that taking care of our hearts is so important? Because when someone hurts us, we do exactly that. We wait. They should come back. They should say sorry. They should realize what they did. They should feel badly. They should make it up to me. They should suffer. Or we wear it sort of as this ego badge of, I'm the one who was abused. I'm the one who was harmed. Look at me. Poor innocent me. I'm the victim here. When actually, it's so obvious what needs to be done. Just clean the couch. And so every time I allow anger to brew in me, it is literally the chemicals that set that stain. When I was young, I used to do a lot of photography, black and white photography, before digital cameras. And I had my own dark room. And in a dark room, you would have paper and you would expose the picture onto the paper, and then there were different chemical baths that you had to put the paper into, and one chemical made the picture come. And then the last chemical was something called stop bath. And that made the developing process stop. And if you didn't put it in the stop bath, it would get too much. Anger is literally that stop bath on whatever has happened to us. It literally holds the stain in place. Something has happened. Someone has said or done something. And every time when I allow those chemicals to come, it literally is taking that moment, that feeling, that experience, and giving me this permanent impression of it upon me. So you don't want to do that. At that time, we want to make a choice. Now here's what's important. That doesn't mean that what the other person did isn't wrong. It doesn't mean we become a doormat. It doesn't mean we let the world walk all over us, because everybody then says, oh, well then wo to sabko lagega ki main bahut weak hoon. Everybody will think I'm very weak. But it's not. Actually, to have the strength to realize I'm in charge of my heart. I'm in charge of my spiritual awakening. And you may be in the throes of your own emotional temper tantrum. That is your karmic package. I am not going to hand you my most precious thing and allow me to lose that as well. And that's what we do when we get angry. So it doesn't mean that what the person is doing or didn't do or saying or not saying is okay. But it means my peace, my joy, my awareness, my grounding is much more important than allowing myself to be besieged by anger. And here's the last piece about it. There's so much, but the last for right now, so we have time for another question, is anger creates sanskaras. The Western model of psychology that I was raised in and that I studied in, at that time, 25 and plus years ago, there was the predominant model of psychology was you need to get it out. Whatever the it is, you're angry, get it out. You had a bad childhood, get it out. Someone harmed you yesterday or 20 years ago, get it out. And the getting it out usually took the form of hitting pillows, hitting punching bags, baseball bats, all kinds of things. Or lots of tears, crying, sort of going through this. Reliving it. And even if you weren't punching and screaming or crying, nonetheless, you were going back into it over and over again. Experiencing those feelings over and over again. Living that pain over and over again. Now, awareness and insight is very important. So it's not about denial. It's not about suppression. It's not about, I didn't notice that or feel that or that didn't happen. It's not about the, how are you? Fine, slam the door. It's not that. It's not, I'm going to pretend I'm okay when I'm seething inside. It's not, how are you? Fine. Waiting for you to draw it out of me. And this happens. We laugh, it happens. Right? Our loved ones say, how are you? We say, fine. They say, okay. go on about their business. This is usually a male-female thing. And then we say, how dare you? You don't love me. You don't care about me. Don't you care I'm upset? And they say, but I just asked you and you said you're fine. And you said, but I didn't mean it. Can't you tell? So it's not that. That's not what we're talking about. It's not the denial, suppression, repression, drama, taunting stuff. It's awareness and insight of here's what is being triggered in me. I see it. But I don't need to go there. Once I know that it exists, once I have faced it, I've seen it, I don't need to keep going there. I know what's there. Pain, misery, anger, fear, longing, despair. Right? I mean, we could throw out emotions all night. They're all there. We know that. No need to keep going there. What's important now is to choose something different. Because every time I get angry, it's triggering something. Every time something happens and it triggers that anger, I have a choice. I can strengthen the connection, strengthen that sanskara of anger, strengthen that sanskara of my own drama, my own pain, my own despair, or I cannot. And interestingly, over the last 25 years, when I've been here, and when I came here, I remember Pujya Swamiji said to me in the very beginning, he said, you people in the West, you sit around in a dark room and you talk about what it feels like to be in the dark, how long it's been dark, why it might be dark, what the molecules of darkness are made of, and you each share your feeling of being in the dark. He said, here in the East, we go like this on the wall looking for a light switch. And that distinction between is the purpose to examine the darkness, or is the purpose to find the light? So it's not that I'm sitting in the dark pretending it's not dark. It's not denial. It's not suppression. I'm aware it's dark. But instead of wallowing in the darkness, it's where's the light switch? And so if I find myself besieged by this anger, where's my light switch? When that comes to me, what's my alternative way of thinking? Simply restraining myself from killing somebody is not the highest goal. It's an important first step. Refraining from punching a wall, again, important first step, but not the highest goal. The highest goal is the minute that I even see that bubbling, is to look at it, acknowledge it, realize, that's that, and then choose differently. We don't have the power to rewrite our past, whether it's 5 minutes ago, the guy who spilled the tea, whether it's 50 years ago, the person in my childhood who ignored me and didn't give me love, and that reminded me of it when you spilled the tea, because then I felt unloved. Either way, I can't rewrite it. But what I can write is this moment, which is anger and pain, or love and peace. That I can choose. That I get to write. And that is what our spiritual practice gives us, is the reins of that in our hands. Not in denial, not in pretending, not in sweeping things under the rug, but in a very conscious decision that in this moment, yes, anger is bubbling. But if the water on your stove begins to boil and you don't want it to boil, what do? Turn off the fire. Right? Just turn. And so whatever emotional pattern it is that's going on in your brain that's saying, how dare you? That's not fair. Who do you think you are? Whatever our script may be, just turn it off. Give yourself a new script. Not drinking the poison. Not drinking the poison. I don't care what you do. I'm not going to drink the poison. I remember many, many years, 20 plus years ago, we went to an annual day at this school in Rishikesh where each of the classes had to put on a performance. And it's an English medium school, but the youngest kids were still in Hindi. So I'll translate it into English in a moment, but for those of you who will enjoy the Hindi, I'll give it to you in Hindi first. And the youngest little nursery kids did a dance drama, where the littlest girl, maybe 3-4 years old, was all decked out in wedding clothes. The bangles, the sari. And she would come out, and there was a song, and the song said, "Acha gard ka ladka hai, lekin thoda sa mota hai. Main shaadi nahi karungi, nahi karungi, nahi karungi." And she, with the nahi karungi, would dance and dance and dance. And then the next verse would come and say, "Acha gard ka ladka hai, lekin thoda sa patla hai. Main shaadi nahi karungi, nahi karungi, nahi karungi." And it means in English, he's a boy from a very good family, good boy, but just a little too fat. I won't marry him, won't marry him, won't marry him. And then the next verse, same thing, but he's a little too skinny. Won't marry him, won't marry. And it goes on and on. And I loved the drama, but I think of it right now because literally with the absolute cuteness of tenacity that little girl had of, this one's too fat, nope. This one is too skinny, nope. This one is too tall, nope. Too short, nope. It's like, I don't care who you are, what you do, no, I am not drinking the poison. I won't do it. Say what you want, do what you want, I'm not drinking the poison. If I were a songwriter, I would come up with a little cute refrain that we could dance to, but nonetheless, take that as the mantra. I won't drink the poison. I have a choice.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Alaya, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation, I'm so glad to have you all back here with me. Absolutely, Pooja. Absolutely. You and everyone. The scriptures were not given to a select few. They were given for all. The teachings, the truths that God has given us were not given for you, and you. They were given for all. Every one of us. This is why if you go actually through the scriptures and you look at the epics and the stories and the teachings, the incredibly vast spectrum that we're given of different types of people, ranging from cobblers to kings, from beggars to rishis. And we're given these different characters in the scriptures as enlightened ones, as rishis or as sages, to remind us never to think, oh, only that one, only this one. The scriptures are full. Why Shabri? So that every single person living in a hut in a village knows, yeah, God will come to me. So that no one thinks, oh, God only goes to those who are super educated or super rich or super powerful or super talented. Why are we given all of these beautiful different characters? Why such beautiful stories that are in the scriptures and then told when we go and we sit for katha? Why are these the stories being told and retold? To remind us. It's not about wealth. It's not about what degrees you have. It's not about beauty. It's not about accessorizing. It's about the heart. Every village woman can be Shabri and have God show up at their door. That's even bigger than God realization. God realization, you experience God. This is, shows up at the door, rings the bell. So yes, Pooja, you and everyone. Everyone. Never, ever, ever forget that. That's the most important teaching. There is nothing that God wishes you were right now other than awake. God's not wishing, oh, I wish you were smarter or richer or more powerful. Just more awake. Just open your eyes and just love. Just love.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is Conscious Living for Your Soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with Inspiration and Transformation. Here's the dilemma. It's the dilemma of use one frame of reference to describe or prove something that requires a completely different frame of reference. And so the word evidence is a word of science or of law, but presumably we're talking science instead of law here. When we say the evidence of God, what it really means is evidence that is knowable by my five senses. So simply to say to you the evidence of God is I can feel God, without even having the person who asked this question sitting right in front of me, I know, that's not going to be a convincing answer. I know he's sitting at home going, no, that's not what I mean. I mean the evidence. I mean the real evidence. He's not interested in, I feel him, so many feel him. He's interested in, show me something that I can see with my eyes, hear with my ears, touch with my hands, smell with my nose, or taste with my tongue. And therein lies the dilemma. Evidence is that which, for most of us, that which our tools can be used to prove. So, does it have a weight? Does it have a volume? Can you put it on a scale? Can you stick it in a beaker? Can you see it in a microscope? How much does it weigh? What color is it? Show it to me, like right here. Put it in my hands. And it's really a tragedy because we all, of course, know that there isn't any evidence like that. I can certainly say to you, oh, well, this happened, this miracle happened. And there's innumerable miracles. You read the lives, the historical lives of so many mystics and sages and people who even just simple people, beautiful people touched by God, who have decided to write their story. But in the world of science, that doesn't float. We call that anecdotal. And the asker of this question is sitting at home going, but you can't prove that. Yeah, she may have said it. Yeah, he may have said it, but where's my proof? Where's my evidence? And therein lies our really tragic dilemma. Because what we've done is we have said, these are my tools. My tools are my five senses. My tools are that which I have developed in the realm of science. I've got a Bunsen burner. I've got a beaker. I've got a microscope. I've got a telescope. I've got a petri dish. I've got a scale. I've got a tape measure. And in order for something to be real, I have to be able to interact with it with these tools. God doesn't fit on your scale, nor in your beaker, nor can you wrap your tape measure around God. And so we are left in this real tragedy where people who are committed to the idea that somehow all of that which is real can be experienced only through these ways miss out on the experience of God. And the only response to that is, have you ever been in love? Have you ever loved anyone? Doesn't have to be romantic love. Do you love your mom or dad? Do you love your child? Do you love a sibling? Have you ever loved anyone or anything? A pet, a tree, a goldfish? Doesn't matter. Although you're not here and I can't hear you, I'm going to assume that sitting there in your home, in your living room, you're nodding. Yes, yes, I've loved. And then I would say to you, prove it to me. Give me the evidence. Put it in my hands. I don't believe you. Show it to me. What is the evidence that you love your mom or your dad or your wife or your son or your daughter or your sister or brother? And of course, maybe you will say, well, I would do anything for them. Well, people do anything for God. Maybe you say, I serve them, I take care of them. People serve God. And so, interestingly, God is in much of the same boat as love, which is the most important, core, fundamental experiences for us to have in life, and those that can't be proven tangibly. Simply because the tools of tangibility are too small to begin to touch love or God. Who knows? Maybe someday science will develop a tool that will be able to measure how much you love. Maybe develop a tool that will show us God. I don't know. But right now the tools don't exist. But just because the tools don't exist, don't deprive yourself of the experience of God. So many sages and saints and rishis and mystics and prophets and yogis and deeply blissful poor villagers, highly awake, ordinary people experience God. And so that's the evidence, if you will allow yourself to believe it. I realize there's no equation. There's no volume or area. But that's because it's infinite. The presence of God is infinite. It's like when Prahlad is asked, does God exist even in this pillar? And he says, yes. Long before the pillar was hit and God came out. He knew God existed in that pillar long before Bhagawan Vishnu emerged from it. Because he could see God everywhere. But his father couldn't. So the question for us is, until and unless we are reborn at a future date in the future when science has developed tools to prove God, who do we want to be? Who do you want to live as? The ones who believe? The ones who see, the ones who experience, or the ones who doubt? Choice is all of ours. But what we know is that those who believe, those who love, those who feel, are also those who know. Because they've experienced. And for them, God is just as real as love is real for you. And in the same way that you couldn't convince someone that love didn't exist who had never experienced love, all you do is you pray. You pray that someday in their life they too will experience love. And in the same way we pray that those who don't believe someday will experience. Not that they'll believe because I'm saying it, but they will believe because they experience. And what better day than Ram Navami to give yourself the possibility of experiencing.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation. The best advice I've ever received. So many. I've gotten such great advice. I am a student of life, and I love advice. I feel like there's so much wisdom in the world. There's wisdom from people in the world. There's such wisdom from nature. Every time I look at a tree, every time I watch a flower, every time I watch the sun rise or set, I feel like I'm being given advice. Every time I watch Ganga flow, I feel like I'm being given advice. So there isn't any best advice that I've been given. I keep learning, keep being guided, keep getting more and more and more advice. But if I had to choose one, it's the best in that it has brought me here. It's the best in that it came at a time when I thought, in two minds, a time that I thought I was making a decision. It was February of 1997, and I had been in India from September through December of 1996. Then Puja Swamiji had made me go back to America, finish my studies. And I was going back and forth because I knew that I was meant to be here. I knew that this is where I was meant to be. I knew that Ganga was my home. I knew that India was my home. I knew that I was meant to live here, in seva, in sadhana. But when so many voices shout at you from outside, you start to hear them on the inside as well. And so everybody was telling me, this is a horrible mistake, you're making a horrible mistake, this is really stupid. First get yourself established, first, do all of that, and then if you want to take a year or two and go off and explore, no problem, but don't go now. Don't give up what you have here. And so I was speaking with a woman who was my mentor, a guide, my best friend, and who to this day is one of the most beloved and important people in my life. And I was talking to her about this decision I had to make. I was in the middle of a semester in my Ph.D. program, and I was trying to decide what to do. And every time we talked, and finally, I was saying to her, I don't know. I want to go back. I feel like I should go back, but everybody's telling me stay. She looks at me and she says, when I look at you, and she was very wise, I have good taste, that's why she was my mentor, and deeply, deeply spiritual and much, much older than I was. And she looked at me and she said, when I look at you, I see a woman already in India. She said, you've made your decision. She said, you're not actually making a decision. You've made it. You're going back. She said, the only decision that I can see you need to make is whether you're going to spend the next 6 weeks, because I had 6 weeks left of my semester. She said, whether you're going to spend the next 6 weeks planning and preparing to move to India after your final exams, or whether you're going to spend the next 6 weeks driving yourself crazy, pretending that you're making a decision you've already made. And it was so exquisitely beautiful because in that moment, the truth had been spoken. And in that moment, I was free because the truth is what sets us free. And I realized as she said it, of course I'm going back. And so of course I stopped driving myself crazy, pretending to make a decision, and started figuring out what I was going to do with all my stuff and, all the logistics that you have to go through when you're planning to move across the world. So that was the best in terms of bringing me here. But life, nature, the wise ones, the scriptures, the parables, it's constantly teaching us. Don't worry about getting the best piece of advice. Worry about implementing even the 90% best advice you got. Worry about even implementing the advice that was, the 80th percent of the best advice you've ever gotten. Implement it. Even if it wasn't the best advice ever, you're going to gain something from the good advice. Take what's wise, take what's helpful, take what will help you grow. And implement it. Implementation is the key. The inspiration is wonderful. But if we don't implement it, we're nowhere. So learn whatever you can, wherever you can, but implement it. This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week, and I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time, on OMTimes Radio.